Dear students, greetings for the day. Today we will discuss about drawing human form in different angles, rendering figure. Objectives: to learn drawing a fashion figure in different poses, to familiarize with the illustration of various garment details on fashion figure, to acquire basic techniques for representing the garments on the fashion figure. Choosing the pose. The pose you use should show off the garment to its best advantage. Some movement in the figure is desirable. However, a lot of movement like running, jumping, or sitting figures tend to distract from the garments. The S-shaped pose is always good for front views, as is the figure with one arm raised or resting on the hip. Three-quarter views are good for showing front feet and back at the same time. Standing figures with one leg propped up are good for showing full skirts, trousers and culottes. In this session I will be showing how to draw middle dot front view, middle dot side view, middle dot three-quarters view, middle dot X pose, middle dot S pose. Reference image. The best way to draw various poses, at least in the beginner level, is through reference images. This is to understand the body and the movement of the body. While choosing an image we have to keep in mind, middle dot, it should be good quality and not blurred out. Middle dot, the figure shouldn't be wearing a lot of clothes. This is to actually understand the anatomy of the body. Middle dot, the lighting should be good. Reference image. The best way to draw various poses, at least in the beginner level, is through reference images. This is to understand the body and the movement of the body. While choosing an image we have to keep in mind, middle dot, it should be good quality and not blurred out. Middle dot, the figure shouldn't be wearing a lot of clothes. This is to actually understand the anatomy of the body. Middle dot, the lighting should be good. Mechanical figure. Middle dot, draw your center line, mark your 10 heads. Middle dot, reproduce the head. Middle dot, the direction of neck. Middle dot, angles if the shoulder, waist, hip. Middle dot, make your basic torso block. Middle dot, direction of hands and legs. Middle dot, position of elbow, wrist and fingers. Sketching basic silhouettes. Middle dot, garments may be drawn flat, as if laid out on a surface, or three-dimensionally, as they appear when being worn. Middle dot, when drawing garments as they look when being worn, We need to create the illusion of 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional surface. Middle dot. Always select a direction of light source in order to understand the direct of shadows and highlights. Basic garment shapes. In their simplest forms, most garments or parts of garments are cylinders. A sleeve is a cylinder which wraps around neck. Trousers are made up of 3 cylinders. A skirt is also a cylinder. The way a garment sits on a figure is determined by the shape and stance of the body beneath it. So draw a basic figure first as a guide for proportioning the garments. To speed up your sketching, trace a well-proportioned fashion figure onto which you can draw the garments. To begin your sketch, follow these 4 steps. 1. Draw the basic figure in the pose which will best show the garment. 2. Over the figure, draw the garment's silhouette, showing fullness and fit. Tilt shoulder line, waistline and hemline to follow body angles. 3. Add garment details, pockets, cuffs etc., seams and fastenings. Show fabric folds and creases where the body and fabric moves and bends, using the body underneath as a guide. 4. Complete the drawing by raising guidelines and adding finishing touches such as shading, detailed line work and fabric texture and pattern. Drawing garment components. Necklines. Middle dot. Necklines curve around the cylinder of the neck and over the shoulders. Middle dot. The front view shows the front shaping only, while the 3/4 view shows the front and sides as they curve back over the shoulders. Middle dot. I will now show how to draw boat neck neckline. Collars and lapels. For drawing purposes, all collars have 3 basic features: the neck edge, the outer edge, and the connecting line between the 2, known as the fall. Start drawing from the back of each collar, following the curve of the neckline. Lapels are the same either side of the center front line, although one side laps over the other. Buttons always sit on center front on single-breasted garments. I will now show you a Peter Pan collar. Sleeves and cuffs. Because shoulders and sleeves form part of the silhouette, it indicates the width and shape of the sleeve, the armhole shape, the fit of the underarm, and how the sleeve is attached to the garment. This may best be achieved by showing one arm raised or resting on the hip. If the sleeve end or cuff has no fastening, be sure to draw it big enough to fit over the hand. I will now show you bishop sleeve. Skirts and pants. The waistlines and hemlines of skirts and pants usually curve down in front and up at the sides to create the 3-dimensional effect of the garment moving back around the body. However, if the pelvis is tilted forwards, the waistline may shape down at the sides and up in the center. The skirt or trouser silhouette is determined by the garment shape, its length and the fabric used. Indicate the drape of the fabric with the outline of the silhouette, and the amount of fullness by the number and depth of the folds through the length of the skirt or trouser leg and at the hemline. Movement folds may also be shown at the knees and across the hip if the leg is bent, and at the hem if the pants rest on the tops of the shoes. To achieve correct leg shaping below the hem of short skirts and pants, draw the full leg first, then erase above the hemline. I will now show you how to draw a skirt and a pant. Gathers and pleats. Gathers are shown by drawing the tiny folds and creases formed at the stitching line. These become fewer and more widespread as they fan out towards the outer hem edge. The hemline of a gathered skirt moves in and out in large columns and is drawn using an undulating up and down line. Some of the large hem folds link up with gathers at the top of the skirt, while others simply fade out to nothing. Regardless of the silhouette, the greater the depth and number of undulations shown in a hemline, the fuller the skirt appears. Pleats are similar to gathers, but instead of rounded folds, they are pressed flat and sharp, creating a zigzag effect on the hemline. The in-out movement is still shown as up-down when drawn. Draw the basic skirt shape with a curved hemline, and then add the vertical lines of the pleats. Link these with diagonal lines at the hem to represent the backward movement of the folded fabric. Shading may be used with both pleats and gathers to indicate the underneath folds of fabrics. Ruffles and frills. Ruffles and frills may have gathers at the sewn edge or may sit flat. In either case, they are drawn in a similar way to gathers, with the folds spreading outwards towards the hem. Drapes and cowls. The folds of drapery fall from the point of support and fan outwards. Draw the outer edge of the folded fabric and the draped lines radiating to these folds. Allow your lines to taper off as the folds thin out.